This is Brent with Lykins Motorsports, and these are a pair of Trick Flow 40 FE heads. Started a video a few weeks ago regarding a new 445 street strip build that I'm going to be doing, and I showed you the scat crank, the Molnar rods, and we checked some bearing clearances and that sort of thing. And the heads and the intake just came back from my porter yesterday, and we're ready to get busy on assembly. These were just standard out of the box Trick Flow heads. Had these shipped to my guy along with the intake manifold, and he did his wonderful work on these. Out of the box, these are about 330 CFM, somewhere around there, give or take. It seems like it varies a little bit from cylinder head to cylinder head. And listening to him go through, I actually sent him 3 or 4 sets of heads over the past couple months, and to hear him talk about the individual heads, and some of them back up at a certain flow number, some of them don't. So even when these are CNC ported, there is a little bit of differences to them. But these flow about 360 CFM now. So we gained quite a few CFM, and when you gain CFM, if you can take advantage of it, then you gain horsepower. For this build, if you remember, it's going to be a 445, and we had some constraints put on me, and we're aiming for a specific horsepower at a lower RPM. We're looking at vacuum to run everything, and to run on pump gas. So typically on a 445 with out-of-the-box Trick Flow heads, a Performer RPM, and one of my custom hydraulic rollers, we normally make somewhere between 540 and 550 horsepower at about 5,500 RPM. This particular customer requested a little bit higher peak, but he still wanted to retain the vacuum and run on pump gas, and wanted a little bit more horsepower as well. So to do that, we went ahead and ported the heads. When you port the heads, you don't need as much camshaft as you would with an unported head, because the extra performance of the cylinder head makes for an easier job for the cam. You don't need to hold the valves open as longer to pack the stuff in, that sort of thing. So this is our foundation, and port work's done. Just gave them a bath. Here's the valves, typical Trick Flow valves. These are 500 overall length, so a little bit longer than a typical standard FE valve, which is around 450. 1625 on the exhaust side, 2190 on the intake side, 11/32 stem. Intake valves weigh about 140 grams. So based on when we do hydraulic rollers, based on the valve weight, I know which lobes that I can get away with and what spring loads I have to work with, and that sort of thing. So we're going to be assembling these with some pack valve springs. We're going to be running a solid roller camshaft, pack valve springs, mainly titanium retainers, pack spring locators. I'm going to reuse the Trick Flow valve locks. Well, I plan to. I'm going to check some install heights here in a second, but I plan to reuse the valve seals and the locks that came with these heads. Trick Flow uses some very, very high-end parts when they send these heads assembled. And if you notice, these are, even the valve guides are very high quality brands. CHE makes a lot of bronze valve guides and bronze lifter bore bushings for the aftermarkets. If you order these assembled, if I remember correctly, the retainers are either Crane or Manley, and the locks are really high quality machine, 10-degree locks and everything. So Trick Flow does everything right on these heads. And I've already tapped the feed holes. This is the feed hole that feeds your rocker shaft oiling. I've already tapped those. I'm going to be using these set screw restrictors. We're going to choke off the oil coming out of here, and we're going to be oiling through the push rods, and we're even going to be choking that down a little bit as well. So I could ramble on all day about these cylinder heads. If you subscribe to Drag Boss Garage, then you'll probably get to hear me ramble on quite a bit. Tomorrow, he's doing a live interview with me at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to talk about some Cleveland, some FEs, some camshaft stuff, and yeah, you'll get to hear my mouth fully disengaged and no governor. So we'll see what happens on that. Exhaust side has been ported as well. Just these are awesome heads. I love them. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna swab out the valve guides right now. I use just like a regular rifle bore patch to do that. I throw some solvent on some patches and clean those out. Make sure the guides are nice and clean. The valves have already been cleaned. The heads have been washed. And we'll start checking our install heights and seeing where we need to be with our valve springs. All right, here is a better shot of the parts we're going to use. Pack valve spring locators, and pack these in a nice little foam box to keep everything nice and clean and protected. Manley titanium retainers, pack valve springs. So we're going to be running, I'm going to try to get these set up pretty much where Pack wants them to be. 2-inch install height, that's why we have the plus 100 valve spring retainers. Open about 600 pounds at 700 lift, and they coil bind advertised at around 1/200. Pack makes good parts. Really good parts. Our camshaft for this is going to be a solid roller. That's why we have a little extra spring load. Cam is 245, 257 at 50. With a solid roller cam, you lose quite a bit of, what am I trying to say here? You lose quite a bit of duration to lash, because the valve is not making, or I'm sorry, the rocker arm is not making contact with the valve until you get all of the lash out of it. By the time you do that, you lose anywhere from 6, 8, 10 degrees, depending on the cam, of duration. So, you know, that's why there's such a big difference between hydraulic cams and solid cams. We're aiming for a lower peak with this one. Valve lift, so lift at the valve is going to be, after lash, 690 on the intake side and about 710 on the exhaust side. Had this cam ground on a 109.5 lobe separation angle. All of that was calculated thoroughly so that we have accurate handle on engine vacuum and that sort of thing. So benefits of custom cams coming out there. So I'm going to grab my handy dandy spring mic, and I'm going to get to work on mapping out our install heights, and we'll see how close we can get to that 2-inch number. Alright, so the first pair on our exhaust valve, I got 2 inches and 9 thousandths. On our intake valve, we got 1995. So I'm going to use, what I can do is I can use a 15 thousandths shim and get these close to each other. TrickFlow does a really good job on their valve jobs, and everything's machined pretty close, so I expect the rest of them to be the same. I'm going to go through and check and find out. Alright, so I went through and mapped all of our springs, checked them on the checker for seat load, open load, coil bind, and I got those set where I want them. And now it's just a matter of putting on our valve seals, checking our seal to retainer clearance, and putting these things together. This is the number 1 cylinder head, so this is the number 1 cylinder. And I've got my springs labeled and all the notes dictated, and I can just start assembling as I go. So I'm gonna lay my parts out, and we'll check a seal to retainer clearance and then get to assembling. And we got about 900 thousandths seal to retainer clearance, so subtract our valve lift from that, we still got about 5/8 of a mile. So we're in good shape and got the green light to load these babies up. All right, 1 head down and 1 to go. This one should go quicker since we've already got all the springs measured and all that sort of thing. So we'll just need to get our install heights, make sure those match this head. Once we get the other head done, then we can measure the combustion chambers and record those for our build notes. All right, I got the second head put together, and I'm putting in our little set screw restrictor. Get that in there, and then we will check the chamber volume on these heads to record those, and then I'll show you the intake manifold that's been ported. And we got a 70 cc chamber measurement. That's actually the first time I've ever cc'd a TrickFlow head and it come up to be as advertised. They're usually smaller than advertised, but that's what they measure. And just always check your chamber volume, especially on when you're having heads rebuilt or custom installs or whatever. Something as simple as a valve job or a valve with a dish face versus a flat face will change the chamber volume quite extensively. So make sure you check that before you order your pistons. And we got a pair of assembled heads, so I'm gonna bag these up and set these aside, and I'm gonna show you the intake manifold. One more thing I want to show you. You guys have seen my videos before on these heads. You'll know that the stand height is raised quite tall, actually. So what that does is you get a lot more thread in your rocker stand studs. I asked Doug at Precision Oil Pumps to crank us out a set of TrickFlow head rocker stud kits. They are longer in the base thread, so you get more thread engagement. You take advantage of all this extra length that's down in here. So for you guys that are running a lot more spring load than the typical, 400 pounds of open spring pressure for hydraulic rollers, you solid roller guys, this will help you out. Get a lot more thread engagement and keep everything clamped down. Make sure you hit Precision Oil Pumps up. He can, I'm pretty sure that he stocks these. I just received 2 sets of them through UPS. So give him a call and he can help you out. This is our Performer RPM intake, and it has been ported and the runner's balanced as well. The runner balance from side to side makes a tremendous difference in, you can watch the air fuel ratios from side to side. And when all the runners are balanced and the ports flow the same, you get a nice even balance between head to head on your air-fuel ratio. This one flows 380 CFM, so we're up over the capability of what the heads will do. Performer RPM is just a great intake. It'll hang with the best of them for the most part. And that's application specific, but for this 445, that's street strip, it's going to do very well. I had him cut down the divider and bullnose that for me, and then he did an excellent job of porting back up underneath the carb flange. Just excellent work. But this will do quite nicely for our 445. All right, guys, I'm gonna hang it up for this weekend. I've got to put some parts orders in and follow up with some emails. So I'll leave you to whatever you are doing. Make sure that you watch the Drag Boss Garage channel tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a lot of engine talk between me and Tim. So you don't want to miss that, and it'll be live, so you can chime in the comment section, and if there's a question that you have or something you wish to talk about, then you can pipe that up there and we can discuss it. All right, guys, I hope you're having a great Friday, and I hope you'll have a wonderful weekend. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Hit that like button, and that helps me out. And the more it helps me out, the more content that I can put out for you guys, which will help you out. So have a good weekend.